You think you're making the healthy choice. You pass on the sugar, pour the zero-calorie soda, or tear open one of those pink or blue packets to stir into your morning coffee. It feels like a smart decision, a tiny win for your health. She exercised, ate balanced meals, and rarely indulged. But after introducing a single can of diet soda into her routine, something felt off. Calories are energy, and without energy, how could anything affect your body, right? Again and again. Eventually, your brain stops reacting the same way. That consistent letdown blunts the dopamine response. In a study with rats, those fed artificial sweeteners ended up consuming more total calories than those given sugar. Artificial sweeteners, especially aspartame, have been shown to interfere with how your body converts tryptophan, an amino acid in food, into serotonin. Maybe sleep doesn't come as easily, or you snap at people over small things. Your gut, often called the second brain, houses over 100 million neurons and produces most of your body's serotonin. Some even developed impaired glucose tolerance, even though they didn't consume any actual sugar. These microbial changes aren't just about digestion. They affect the brain. In animal models, altered gut bacteria have been linked to increased anxiety and depression-like behaviors. It's not just in your head, it's your gut influencing your head. First, they throw off the balance of your gut bacteria, reducing helpful strains and promoting the growth of harmful ones. Artificial sweeteners disrupt this system in two serious ways. Second, they interfere with your body's ability to produce short-chain fatty acids, essential compounds that protect your brain from inflammation. The woman mentioned earlier felt these changes creep in slowly, subtle shifts in her emotional state that became her new normal. She never connected them to her drink, but science suggests they may have been. That fog isn't imaginary. It's part of a cascade. Gut changes lead to systemic inflammation, which then alters brain function. Inflammation can dull your thinking, heighten stress, and make it harder to regulate emotions. In fact, another study showed detectable changes in brain activity in the amygdala, the brain's emotion hub, just 8 hours after people consumed sucralose. A study in Frontiers in Behavioral Neuroscience showed that aspartame lowered serotonin levels in key areas of the brain tied to emotional stability. The sweeteners didn't make them physically hungrier, it was the mismatch in brain chemistry that triggered the overeating. Imagine this in your own life: you drink a zero-calorie soda with lunch, go about your day, and then can't seem to stop snacking in the afternoon. You think it's willpower. But it might be your brain chasing a reward it was promised but never received. Over time, your brain becomes less sensitive to it, especially in areas linked to satisfaction and self-control. You might find yourself finishing a meal but not feeling full, or reaching for another snack even when you're not truly hungry. But the brain doesn't work that way. The brain doesn't just respond to calories. It responds to signals, and sweetness is one of the loudest. When something sweet hits your tongue, your brain gets ready for a reward. It releases dopamine, the chemical messenger of pleasure and motivation. But with artificial sweeteners, the energy never arrives. The brain is left confused, expecting a reward that never comes. She became more irritable, more anxious, and started feeling drained without explanation. Artificial sweeteners weren't just fooling her taste buds, they were triggering changes in her brain. At first, no one thought much of it. It was just a soda. But when those symptoms persisted, she began to dig deeper. That's when the puzzle began to come together. Not in weeks or months, but sometimes just hours after consumption. But what if that small swap, made in the spirit of self-care, was actually altering your brain within hours? What if that no-calorie sweetener was influencing your mood, your cravings, your focus, and even how you make decisions without you having the slightest idea? At some point, most people have tried to eat a little better. This isn't another food scare tactic. It's not clickbait. It's a quiet story your brain has been trying to tell you all along. Think about it. In fact, one thoughtful and health-conscious woman once believed it wholeheartedly until her body began sending mixed signals. Maybe it was to shed a few pounds, manage blood sugar, or just feel like they were taking better care of themselves. And when products claim to offer sweetness without sugar or calories, it seems like a dream come true. Diet sodas, sugar-free yogurts, protein bars, even chewing gum, they're all sold as smarter alternatives. It's easy to fall for it. Many do. Serotonin, another major neurotransmitter, helps regulate mood, impulse control, and that overall sense of calm. This woman hadn't changed her diet drastically. Here's where the biggest misunderstanding starts: the belief that no calories means no consequence. It sounds logical. It's like getting a beautifully wrapped gift box, opening it, and finding nothing inside. Yale researchers found something telling. Now, dopamine isn't the only player here. What does that mean for you? At first, you might just feel a little off. Maybe you're more anxious than usual. A little more impatient. And there's more. The gut-brain axis, the two-way communication between your digestive tract and your central nervous system, plays a huge role here too. In a cell metabolism study, participants who consumed saccharin for just 1 week had major shifts in their gut microbiomes. If you've ever felt mentally foggy, emotionally shaky, or more irritable after switching to sugar-free products, this may be why. Let's go deeper into how this affects your focus, learning, and memory. The prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for decision-making, logic, and attention, is sensitive to neurotransmitter levels. Even after they stopped consuming the sweetener, the effects lingered. Now picture this: a student sipping diet soda during study sessions but struggling to retain what they read. A parent relying on sugar-free drinks to stay sharp but feeling more scattered. These aren't personal failures, they're the chemical reality of how sweeteners influence the brain. BDNF is crucial for learning, memory, and keeping your brain adaptable. Low BDNF is associated with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and serious depression. But if you stick with it, your body starts to shift. Fruit tastes sweeter. Cravings lessen. Mood stabilizes. Sleep improves. Focus returns. Your brain's chemistry begins to find its balance again, not from tricks or substitutes, but from food that supports your biology, not hijacks it. In one animal study, rats fed aspartame for just 30 days had dramatically lower BDNF levels in the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. They communicate with your brain and often send the wrong signals. Look at what you're consuming. Start with one small change. Cut out just one sweetened product this week. Replace it with something natural. Pay attention to how you feel. Your brain is remarkably adaptable. It can heal. But you have to give it the opportunity. You may have chosen them to be healthy, and that's commendable. But you deserve the full truth. These aren't speculative theories. These are observable, repeated findings. When dopamine and serotonin are out of balance, your ability to concentrate and stay mentally sharp suffers. Subscribe for more honest, science-backed insights. Drop a comment with your own experience. What have you noticed after cutting out artificial sweeteners? Let others know they're not alone. Because real health isn't built on fads or fake sugar. It's built on understanding, and the truth is, your brain deserves better. That can bring its own set of issues. But the goal is to reset the brain's reward system. To step away from both refined sugars and artificial alternatives. It means giving your body the time it needs to relearn what real food tastes like. It means retraining your brain to recognize and appreciate natural sweetness again. Over time, intense sweeteners like aspartame and sucralose raise your sweetness threshold. Foods that once tasted rich in flavor like a juicy peach or a spoonful of yogurt suddenly taste dull. Your brain doesn't respond to them the same way. You start craving more powerful, hypersweetened flavors just to feel satisfied. And here's the dangerous part: this rewires your cravings, creating a loop that's hard to escape. You may find yourself forgetting things, zoning out, or just unable to complete tasks that once felt easy. In a study published in Behavioral Neuroscience, mice who consumed sucralose for only 2 weeks showed clear memory and learning impairments. A large review in the Journal of Psychiatric Research found that people who consumed high levels of aspartame reported significantly more mood disturbances. Women seemed especially vulnerable, possibly due to how hormonal fluctuations interact with neurotransmitter levels. This isn't just a bad mood day. It's a biochemical disruption that affects daily life. Then there's the shift in how your brain perceives sweetness. MRI scans support this too. Studies show that artificial sweeteners activate the same brain regions associated with drug addiction, specifically the nucleus accumbens and the striatum. These are the same circuits triggered by drugs like cocaine and heroin. No, sweeteners aren't drugs in the traditional sense, but they light up your brain in similar ways. That's why resisting them can feel so difficult. It's not just about habit. It's about neurobiology. And then we get to the long-term risks. Chronic use of artificial sweeteners has been linked to higher rates of anxiety and depression. Worse still, research has found that artificial sweeteners can lower levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. So what now? It's not realistic or helpful to just swing back to sugar. It won't be instant. Your taste buds may revolt at first. Things might taste flat. You may crave the artificial hit. The big takeaway: artificial sweeteners aren't passive. They're active messengers in your system. They don't just flavor your food. If you've been feeling foggy, emotionally off, or stuck in a cycle of cravings, take a moment. If this resonates with you, consider sharing the knowledge.